Hi class, I want to show you how to solve this problem from the notes, example 16.5, using Excel instead of using paper and pencil. So I'm just going to copy down these values in a column that I'll call X. So it's -1, 5, 9, 6, and 0. So I'm going to label this column X here. And I'm going to type -1, 5, 9, 6, and 0. So there are my values, and I could add as many as I wanted to in this column, but if this is the set of values I want to work with, now let's perform the steps. So you do need to, maybe when you look at this, identify what needs to be done first if you want to do it in the simplest fashion. So for example, I know that I want to subtract 3 from every X value. In Excel, something like that is incredibly easy. I can just come over here, and I'm going to label this. You don't need to label this, of course, but I'm just showing you that I'm going to label this X minus 3. And I'm just going to tell Excel to take this value and subtract 3 from it. The way you accomplish functions or calculations in Excel is to highlight the cell where you want the answer to appear. You're going to press the equal sign on your keyboard, so the equal sign. Once you have that up, you can click a cell like this that contains a number, and it's going to give you the cell location. So A2 is the location of where that number is. So any number that goes in that position is going to perform this operation on that number. And then I'm going to type what I want to do to it. I want to take 3 away from it. So I've done that, and there's my answer, right? Now, I don't have to continue to type that all the way down. I can just grab the corner of the cell and drag it down. And what that's going to do is repeat the same operation all the way down the line. When I click the cell, you can see what it's doing. It's saying A3 minus 3 up here in the formula bar. So it's telling me it took the next value in the list and repeated that process over and over and over again. So here are my values then. Okay, now that I have that, I can finish the rest using a specialized function. I could, of course, write this myself and make the work, essentially make the work happen without using anything built into Excel. But I could also just use Excel to do that. So let's do it 2 ways. Let's first do it ourselves, and then we'll show how Excel can do this automatically with a program that's already built into Excel. So first I'm going to press equal. And what I want to happen next is, if you look at our problem, right, I want to make sure that I square all these differences, right? So I've taken the difference, I've got that minus 3 done for all the parts. Now I'm going to square that, and finally at the end I'll want to add. So I'm going to tell it to square this. There's lots of ways you can do this. I'm sure there's a function in Excel that squares, but I don't even need to worry about that. I know squaring is just multiplying by itself. So I can click this cell and then do times the cell again. I press enter, and there's my square. And I can do that all the way down again by just clicking and dragging. So there it is. And then once I've had that accomplished, I can get the sum. Now here's a nice thing about Excel these days. In the bottom corner, you'll see that it tells you for any set of numbers you highlight, it'll tell you how many numbers there were. It gives you the average, and it tells you the sum. So I can see the answer is 74 here. However, if I wanted it to provide that sum for me, let's use the sum feature. I can say, again, clicking any cell I want. Actually, maybe I'll do this below here. I'll click it here. I'll say equals, and then I can actually type the word sum. And as I start to do this, you see there are options that come up. The first one is the classic sum. If I click that, double click it, I should say, you have this open parenthesis, and it's telling you to enter the list of numbers that you want to sum. So I can highlight this list from here down to where I want it to stop. And it's going to tell the computer then to sum up the values in C2, that's column C, starting with row 2, all the way down to C6, right? I can close that up or just hit enter. I'm going to close up the parenthesis though, just to be careful, and then hit enter. And there's the same answer, 74. It turns out though, I could have skipped all of this, so I'm going to delete this all, delete that. And I'm just going to get my answer by putting using a function that Excel already has built into it. So I'm going to click equal again, and I'm going to start to type sum. As I see sum appear, there are different options. There's sum if s, sum product, sum of square. This sum of square is actually going to do what we want to do all at once. So it says it returns the sum of the squares of the arguments of the values, right? The arguments can be numbers, arrays, names, etc., right? So I'm going to double click this, right? And then I'm going to highlight the column that I would like to square and then sum. And it's going to do the same work for me. And I should get the same answer I had before, which is 74. So essentially you can perform the sum of square operation with a built-in function. You don't have to write it yourself. If you wanted to write it yourself, you can see it's not hard to do. Okay, and that's how you accomplish that task in Excel. Incidentally, if you want to know the symbol for times, I don't know if I talked about that when I was showing you how to make two cells multiply. If I want to take this value here and multiply it by itself, again, what I did was I said equal to get an equation going. We always have to hit the equal first. I click that, and then I hit times. Times is actually the asterisk key on your keyboard, so it's either Shift 8, or if you have a separate key on your keyboard like I do, you can click that. Then click it again, press enter, and there's your answer. Okay, so again, 74 was the answer, and it can be done in several ways using Excel.